What's up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA Security Plus 601 certification exam. So let's get into it. In this video, you're going to learn about backup sites such as hot, cold, and warm sites. You'll also learn about deception and disruption practices such as honeypots, honeynets, fake telemetry, and DNS sinkholes. Let's talk about site resilience. So site resilience, this is the ability of a server, network, storage system, or an entire data center to recover quickly and continue operating even when there has been an equipment failure, power outage, or other disruption. Site resiliency is often achieved through the use of redundant components, systems, and facilities. When one element fails or experiences a disruption, the redundant element takes over seamlessly and continues to provide computing services to the user base. And three components of data resiliency that you need to be concerned about when it comes to the CompTIA Security Plus 601 exam are hot sites, cold sites, and warm sites. So a hot site, this is a duplicate of your primary IT functions with hardware, apps, and data ready to run in minutes or less in the event of a disaster. This is the most expensive of the three disaster recovery plans, but for an organization that can afford no downtime, it might be the only one that is worth considering. Now you have a cold site. This has power, HVAC, and network connections, but will need equipment and data before it can be used for IT functions. This is the least expensive to maintain before a disaster, but takes the longest to set up during a disaster. And then you have a warm site. This has power, HVAC, network connections, and hardware suitable for IT functions. Systems at the warm site might need to have operating systems, apps, and data restored, or operating systems and apps could be already installed to save time. A warm site costs more than a cold site and would require ongoing maintenance of hardware and possible software, but can be made ready in hours rather than days compared to a cold site. Next, let's talk about some deception and disruption. So the first one we're going to talk about are honeypots and honeynets. So honeypots, these are a type of deception technology that allows network and system administrators to understand attacker behavior patterns. Security teams can use honeypots to investigate cybersecurity breaches to collect intel on how cyber criminals operate. They also reduce the risk of false positives when compared to traditional cybersecurity measures because they are unlikely to attract legitimate activity. A honeynet, this is a decoy network that contains one or more honeypots. It looks like a real network and contains multiple systems, but is hosted on one or only a few servers, each representing one environment. So for example, a Windows honeypot machine, a Mac honeypot machine, and a Linux honeypot machine will make up a honeynet. And then you have another thing called a honey wall, and this monitors the traffic going in and out of the network and directs it to the honeypot instances. Their vulnerabilities can be injected into the honeynet to make it easy for an attacker to access the trap. Let's talk about fake telemetry. So telemetry, this is a term for technologies that accommodate collecting information in the form of measurements or statistical data and forwards it to IT systems in a remote location. This term can be used in reference to many different types of systems, such as wireless systems using radio, ultrasonic, or infrared technologies, or some types of systems operating over telephone or computer networks. Some organizations deploy fake telemetry as decoys and breadcrumbs in order to lure and trick attackers. Similarly, attackers have compromised systems that also generate fake telemetry and reporting data to full security monitoring systems, analysts in the security operations system, and to evade other security controls that may be in place. And let's talk about a DNS sinkhole. So a DNS sinkhole, this is simply a DNS server that gives users false domain names. It is also known as a sinkhole server, an internet sinkhole, or a black hole DNS. Legit DNS servers are set up to point users to the correct IP address every time they type a specific domain name into their browser in hopes of visiting a particular website. DNS sinkholes disrupt the intended flow of internet traffic traffic from a domain name to its correct IP address. As a result, anyone who accesses one gets sent to a different IP address. DNS sinkholes can be both good and bad, so cyber attackers, they can use them to point users to the specially crafted malicious sites via DNS-based attacks like DNS hijacking, but law enforcement agents and cybersecurity experts, they also use DNS sinkholes to point the would-be victims of cyber attacks to web properties that are safe to access instead. All right, so that was my quick little class on backup sites, where we talked about sites such as hot, cold, and warm sites. And we also talked about deception and disruption practices such as honeypots, honeynets, fake telemetry, and DNS sinkholes. Now, if you felt like you've gotten something valuable out of this information, go ahead and hit the like button, share button, drop a comment, but most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Also, go check out my website, Technology G, so that you can get read up on the latest and greatest to help you successfully pass the CompTIA Security Plus 601 certification exam. And until next video, ladies and gentlemen, peace.